Um, Buonasera a tutti. Thank you, Luca, Simona, for the invitation to Arc Marathon. I'm gonna start giving a little bit of a story of the most fantastic city, that is Mexico City. It's a city where I live, and I would like to say that it's the most fantastic city because it has all this potential of contradictions and layers and problems and solutions and so on. So it becomes a little bit of a laboratory of experimentation for architects in this city to understand the connections of architecture, people, society, and progress. This is Mexico City, drawn picture from 16th century, when it was a lake, very similar to Venice, with canals and so on. So then the Spanish came and ruined everything. That's our city, 17th century. Very small city, very compact with these channels. And we're going to be working, we're going to be showing, is this a pointer also? Maybe not. Yeah. Well, it doesn't matter. We're going to be working in, I'm going to be showing a little space or a little neighborhood in this city that is Colonia Juarez. And I have to explain a little bit this condition of the city, of the contrast, of the limits, of the borders, of the surroundings, so that we understand a very complex situation and then the local condition of a neighborhood. It's a city that has been layered on top of each other. Under that piece of concrete at the center of the city is the old Aztec empire or the old Aztec city, and then the Spanish came and did the colonial city on top, and then there's the modern city on top. And now we're building a contemporary city on top. So it becomes this city that is constantly, dynamically moving, changing, overlapping. And then there's the other part that is destruction. And destruction is kind of a fascination for me. The idea of building layers and then having these layers turn down in a series of earthquakes that vary between 30 to 60 years, destructive earthquakes, and we understand this as a society, as a condition. So there, we have this in Mexico, the layering down of the city, the new kind of fabric that becomes destruction. I'm going to show this little video because also one of my little obsessions is missing parts in bodies. The audio doesn't work, it doesn't really matter, but these pieces or prostheses that starts happening in bodies can actually accomplish in art or in dance other kinds of situations, other kinds of engagement to art. So like in this dancer understood the condition of not having a leg and then having a prosthesis placed on, and then having this kind of new movements through this harness or these hanging elements to create art or to create a different condition. And I think in architecture it's very similar. This is the context of the neighborhood that I'm going to talk. I'm going to try to be quick because I'm going to show two little projects that has to do with the last project that is coincidentally called Milan, in Milan. So it's an eclectic area. 19th century architecture, 20th century architecture, beautiful site. Decay from the last earthquake in '85, the big earthquake in '85. This neighborhood was destroyed, and now it's coming back. So in prosthetics, I'm less interested in this kind of prosthetics that is just replacing the piece with the same piece or kind of the same piece. I am much more interested in this kind of prosthetics that are a different condition or a different structural condition. Or this one that is a technological advancement. So that's the neighborhood I work. All the red projects are projects that our office has done. We started doing this little one right here, the one in the lower left. And the one that we're going to talk about is the L-shaped one in the center. So we're mapping all this neighborhood. The brown and yellow places are other clients' developments that are in this neighborhood. So we know the fabric, we know the people, we know society in this neighborhood, so we want to work in this. And we think that architecture is not only one piece that is away from everything, but it's a piece that actually engages with the block, with the neighborhood, with the city, and with society. So this is the first piece that we did like 10 years ago, and we found it like this. We start cutting certain parts, and we start adding other parts. I'm just going to go very quick with this, because this is a project that was presented here 4 years ago. And so you see the new part, the old part, the prosthetic part. That's the new system to get to the apartments. And always the condition of the new and the old as part of that new prosthetic or new piece, in addition to the old piece. So I'm going to pass this really quick. And then there's another way of putting elements into bodies or missing parts, right? That is this other one. That is an old building, 19th century house with a new structure and a new way of understanding this. Remember that we have a city on top of a lake with earthquakes. So the whole structural thing is our kind of like way of engaging architecture. Different ways of forming, of deforming the form to get light into the neighbor, to get a new condition of structure, to grab the old house that is floating on the lake, and then have the new structure and see what's happening in 20, 30 years of both movements, and so on. No? So the new piece is on top, and the old house is on the bottom. That's the overall condition of this new cluster that has 19th century, 21st century architecture, offices, housing, restaurants, and everything is working all together. And then, since we did these projects, we did the one that I'm going to present that is called Milan 44 or Milan 44. That's the context of these two pieces. The white one is the new piece, the light gray is the 19th century piece, and then the other one is the context, the immediate context. Then there's other way of grabbing structures that are failing. That is these beautiful, metal elements that become this idea of grabbing the body, of grabbing a scar or grabbing a cut. We found a structure that is this one, that it had the scaffolding, it had the prosthetic, but it didn't have the software. It had the hardware, but not the software. So we said, it's a beautiful structure that is not an old structure, it's not a 19th century piece. We don't have to keep it, but we're going to keep it because I think it's a great structure. So we started doing art installations inside, with different artists and architects. And then at the end, we decide to just clean it up, leave the whole structure, and then change the DNA of the place, to start changing also the condition of the block and the city. So through certain cuts of beams and slabs and new, very light structures, we start reprogramming what went inside that old warehouse. It was a warehouse, closed warehouse for auto parts. That's the program, very quickly. So the program is essentially a market, offices, a yoga space, and a rooftop to make parties. But it engages with the community. It's a little local market inside a very complex neighborhood of a financial district versus the arts district that is Roma. So that's the original structure built after the earthquake in '85, around '87. And then this is the way it turned after we clean it up. Practically, it's an architectural job also, not to use the pencil, but to use the eraser sometimes. And that's the contrast in the neighborhood of the different times, like a composition. This is the different activities that starts happening there, with little stores, flower shops, vendors, yoga. And that's the bomb. Okay, that's my cue. So. And this is the connection with the street, with the city, the way it engages at the first level. It's all open. And that's the way it works. Thank you very much.
Iba a hablar en español, perdón.
¿En español?
No. I was wondering so you have done many buildings around. I didn't know that you were how many, almost 10 buildings now. No? Mm-hmm. So how has this been working out in the whole area, and how are you connecting this acupuncture, urban acupuncture, and how does it has transformed the whole area with your own contribution? No? Because there's a lot of things going on, but with your own buildings, how has this been working?
That's why I think that map is very important, because what we started to do, that first project in Abre 69, that is the first building, the whole neighborhood, the whole street was dark, nobody walked there, and throughout these buildings, the neighborhood started becoming lively again 24 hours. And then other things start happening around this building. And then we did this market, and then it pulled the energy towards that. And then we did another one that is far away, 3 blocks more, that is a housing building that also started pulling away. So I've seen this transformation of those 16 blocks during the last 10 years, and I live there, and I walk the area, and I can see that these things, not only our work, but the works of other architects, other people that are doing galleries and so on, are changing the thing without being so dramatically gentrifying the space. Because that's very important for us, that we, there's another building that I didn't show that it's called Marsella. All the names of the streets are this. That's why this is called Milan. It's not because we're here. It's so coincidental. But this is very important. The building in Marsella has 3 commercial spaces. And one was a relojero, I don't know how you say that, the guy that fixes watches, that was working there for 30 years. And he came to me and said, I cannot pay the new rent. Don't worry, you stay here. You have to keep also the same energy of the neighborhood that was before, so that the new energy can come and can start playing with that. Of course, gentrification has to happen, but it has to happen in a very intelligent way to be able to, bring these 2 worlds together into.
So may I ask you, because this is what the argument, gentrification. Who are your clients there? I mean, is the same clients who's buying lots?
Same client.
That's the point.
It's a company named Reurbano that they are very interested in doing this.
So in keeping and changing.
They don't make deals with Starbucks, they don't make deals with McDonald's, they don't make deals with these companies that they take over, and they really do this kind of energy. Yeah. Their way of doing developing is very subtle through the city.
Tailoring and okay.
I think it's very interesting. Gentrification in the West is seen as a very negative word.
Sure.
But in the developing world, there are different forces at play. And it's, I think, a very simple way to say gentrification is an evil and something else is good. And I wonder if in the way of making these developments, do you put down rules for a different kind of development? Winnie Maas yesterday was talking about the economics of beauty. In your presentation, I could get the sense of the kind of economics of sexiness, of attractiveness, of desire in a way. And I just wonder, do you find a way to talk about this as almost as a methodology?
True. I think that the way we talk with neighbors about this is so that they find that sexiness in these things that are coming to their neighborhood without being aggressive, so that they become part of that. That little market is the best example, more than the others. That was the best example. The first one was our first kind of approach. So there's a French restaurant in a, so it was like, why would you put a French restaurant that is super expensive for people here? But this won the market, that engaged with the community really well. So, thank you.